one of the main things is being creative. I believe that especially when you're in college, you're kind of told between this thin line of things that you need to do and the processes you need to follow. And in life, that shit just doesn't exist. Like, there's a million ways to skin a cat. And I feel like college is just one of those things where they just want you to follow their rules, and I have no idea why. And I just become someone that values their education a lot. I'm not one of those kids that are gonna be like, oh, school's the matrix, and don't go to school. Like, no, if it makes sense for you, then go. And what I mean by this is that most of the time your professor, and I've had this before, had professors literally mark me down for not using the processes that they taught us, even though it still got the fucking right answer. And I just think that's a bunch of bullshit, because there's a bunch of ways to skin a cat, and you shouldn't be punished for taking it a creative way. And that's even to my second thing, is that you're not gonna be taught how to think on your feet. Most of the time, you're gonna have professors that have a certain way of doing things, right? And if you don't follow their way and you can't get the answer, you're gonna be in a situation where they either want you to contact them, contact some sort of tutor, or some sort of other assistance. And the problem with that is that, especially when you translate to the real world, things happen so fast, especially in an industry that's like sales or real estate, that you have to think on your feet, because it's all the time that you have. Like, you don't have time. So you're not gonna be in a situation where you're able to have all these other resources that you could hit and stall for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days to get a response from them. You have to be able to move fast, because money loves speed, and also that speed may be the only thing that sets you apart from someone else in regards to getting something done, right? You could be as good as someone else in regards to getting a transaction done, or just getting something done in general, or a task, but you did it faster, so that you're gonna reap the better benefits. So that's another thing, is thinking on your feet. And one of the other things is, I believe it's one of the biggest problems that we have in the US, is people being in a position where they can't disagree with someone and be okay with that. I think a lot of people are so caught up and so emotional in their beliefs that they can't even just look at someone else and be like, hey, you know what, you're right, I'm right. And that's fine. Like, two people could both be right on the same thing, and there's literally nothing wrong with that. But I think the biggest problem with people being overly emotional in that regard is that there's no sort of discussion that is full of respect. There's no sort of viewpoints that obviously you're not meeting, but then you're also still, like I said, having that common ground. And that makes it very hard to work with people, especially in the business world, that you have opposing viewpoints with. And there's nothing wrong with having opposing viewpoints with someone. Like I said, two people can both be right. You're never going to be taught that in college. In college, you're mostly going to be taught why you should agree with someone or why you should disagree with somebody else. And the problem with that is that, like I said, two people could both be right on the same thing. And I believe another thing that I never was really taught in college is how to network properly. They always tell you, like, oh, like, go and ask someone for coffee. But that shit this doesn't happen. Like, maybe in the spite of the moment, you'll be able to connect with someone and they're already going to be there and they're already going to sit there for coffee, and you buy it for them and you sit with them because it's already what they're going to do. But you have to think of it on a cost-based analysis. This person is very valuable. That's the reason why you want to connect with them. And you're kind of just asking them to split their time with you for a $3 cup of coffee, and you just take all of the info that they worked so hard to get and the value that they were, obtaining through hard work. So it's like, you want them to go and drop all of that just to be in a situation where they get, like, for free, they're giving you, right? And I say that because this world is primarily transactional. Like, a lot of people are transactional in this world, and you can't blame them, because that's how they were probably brought up. That's probably the shit that they dealt with. So you have to move accordingly. Like, what value can you provide to this person? Can you become a mentee of them and then excel? So then they're a reason why they see why they need to, like, value dump into you. And the things that I was taught the network, not necessarily taught to network, the way that I began the network, and the reason why I have such a big network and the things that I do, and I can run a business that moves fucking basically internationally, even though I just stay in a small city, is because of, one, what is your value proposition? Two, what is your charisma, presentation, and communication? And three, can you read people in the things that they need and providing the solution and always tying it back to that? So let me go back to the first thing. Is what is your value proposition, right? I understand that I could connect someone with anybody on the planet that needs to get done. If you could pay us to get something done, it doesn't matter who the fuck it is, I will get someone to go and do that, because I know, one, I'm not always the best skilled in every single profession, and that leads me to my second thing in that, in that regard, is that I know who, not how. And I think a lot of people, especially in college, are always so fixated, like, I need to know how to do this myself. I need to know how to do this. I need to do this. And to an extent you do, but not to an extent where you need to master that skill set, because when you try and focus on mastering that skill set, it's a low leverage activity. It's a higher leverage activity to just go and understand the skill set enough to get someone that's skilled enough to go and do that skill for you. And a lot of people don't tell, like, in school, that's considered cheating, but in real life, it's considered fucking teamwork and building a team. So in terms of presentation, is how can I present that offer, right? How can I know how to communicate well, which is something that I taught in college, to tie it back down to the third thing of what I said, which is what someone's pain points are and what is their end goal, what is the actual thing that they want. And most people can't read other individuals and tie it back to exactly what they want and provide a solution that distracts them from all the other limitations that they have and limiting beliefs in their mind. They're probably thinking like, oh, why should I network with this kid? Okay, well, this is the only kid that's in a situation to provide you XYZ solution in this time frame without doing, this discomfort, this uncomfortable activity. So you need to learn how to network properly, and that's something you're not gonna be taught in college because you're probably just taught, you need to go and shake hands at networking events and all of the above, right? It's all about, like I said, presentation, communication, and your value add. But I think that also leads me into my next thing that I was never taught is what are my transferable high income skill sets? And when you have these transferable high income skill sets, you're in a situation where you could basically move into any industry and absolutely fucking kill it. Because one thing is like sales, for example. Everything in the world boils down to sales. Like absolutely everything boils down to sales. And if you are not in a position where you know how to sell absolutely fucking anything, I promise you, you're going to be in a major disadvantage from someone that does. And the reason why I say this is because everything involves selling. Everything involves selling. You are in a position where even if you're just trying to get a job, you need to know how to fucking sell. And the reason why you need to know how to sell is because you need to sell your employer on the idea of hiring you. And most people don't even realize that. That's the reason why a lot of people are not able to get job interviews, even if they are the most qualified, because they can't present, they can't communicate, and they can't show their value add. And if you're able to literally just sell anybody based off of your personality type and what works best for you, bro, I promise you, you will get so many more opportunities if you have, charisma, presentation, and communication. Because like I said, you walk into that job interview, if you don't have the right charisma and able to mirror someone, which you're not going to be taught, you're probably just going to be taught to create a fucking resume, which in reality doesn't matter because it's all about that, the way that you play the person that you're conversating in that interview or just that discussion. And being able to present yourself well, communicate, and have those transferable skill sets, because like I said, if you're able to sell them on the idea of hiring you, you have a better chance of someone that's more qualified that can't even communicate or formulate a sentence properly. So those high income skill sets will put you in a competitive advantage in any sort of industry. And I think that if you focus on those, as opposed to all the other accolades that are only good on paper, you'll be fucking chilling. There's so many opportunities that I've been presented because of those high income skill sets that are transferable, such as sales, marketing, copywriting, because even if you don't pursue an industry like that, they're transferable. Like knowing how to market yourself to, say, job offers, knowing what recruiters may be thinking, knowing how to have the right approach to them in terms of sales. Like those are things that are copywriting. How can you write your presentation of oneself in a format that makes them want to hire you, right? Because copywriting is simply just selling through words. But if you're in a position where, like I said, you're selling correctly through words because you know the knowledge of one's sales and know how to write it in copy, your resume is going to be a lot better as opposed to someone that just goes and just puts bullet points, right? And the other thing that I believe college taught me the most is that you're not defined by the piece of paper that you have. I believe a lot of people are so fixated on upgrading this piece of paper, but like I said, it goes back to the high income skill sets that you have that are transferable, the presentation you have of those, the charisma and the communication, and then also being in a situation where you're going above and beyond, because your degree simply does not matter if you don't use it to the fullest, right? Because a lot of people are so fixated on that piece of paper, but that piece of paper is kind of just your ticket into the door. Sometimes you don't even get into the door, but it's about what you're doing with that degree, just with like everything. Like it's always about what you do with the resources you have, not necessarily the resource that you have in the first place. And when you have that mindset upon it, you approach college entirely differently. Like I approach college like, okay, I'm gonna graduate, I have a 4.0, I'm killing it, but what is my other value add that allows me to connect with people that are even beyond the whole idea of me even hiring me? Fucking me being in a situation where there's some sort of business partnership because of the industry they're in or their parents are in, right? But you can't just rely on your degree. You have to look at other ways to become as valuable as possible, because in business, it's always about people, right? Or just in life, it's always about people and your career. And alongside it's just being about people, the way you connect with them, the way that you move, it's also about value in terms of whoever provides the most value always wins. It doesn't matter who's better on paper. It doesn't matter who's better in charisma. Whoever provides the most value will always win. It doesn't matter what industry it is. And that's something in college you're not going to be taught. It's just to be taught like, hey, how can I follow these thin lines? How can I, follow the right steps that were provided to me? And that's the problem, right? Like I said, you need to be in a position where you're not codependent on any sort of individual to guide you in any certain which way because you're thinking on your feet. Doesn't mean that you're going to be in a position where you should just completely, say fuck all the rules. No, but you need to be open to learning how to think on your feet because, like I said, things happen so fast and you're able to do that, you're going to be extremely behind once you get into the real world because, like I said, there's no roadmap in the real world at all. Like right now, I'm recording this video. Is anyone telling me this? No. Is it something that I thought of that was put on a roadmap for me? No. Like I literally just thought about this video idea. All these things that I'm talking about are spilled from the dome. They're not fucking premeditated. And there's not gonna be a guide to this shit. Like there's not gonna be a guide, there's not gonna be a clear cut, and that's fine. And the last thing that was at college and teach you to endure, which literally just came off of the dome, based on what I said previously, is that there's not gonna be a guide, but there's not gonna be any sort of finish line that you're ever gonna see, because that's the beauty of just your career and entrepreneurship in general, is that there's no end goal ever. Like you may think, oh, when I get 10 rentals, I'll be happy. When I get to 100K a month, I'll be happy. There's never an end goal. And I'm coming to tell you this from someone that has multiple rental units. I think in February I made like $44,000 in 1 month at 20 years old living at home. But it's like, you're never gonna be happy. And that was revenue, right? That's revenue. But even to say that out loud, when like at the restaurant that I was working at previously, not even 2 years ago, I was making like maybe half of that in a year. Maybe, right? But the reason why I'm saying this in regards to not understanding that finish line is because you'll learn to endure a ton. Because in business, it's really just about whoever endures the most, who provides the most value, and who has the longest longevity. Eventually, if you're doing the right things for a long enough period of time, even if you're not the best in your industry, you will outshine a lot of individuals that do good for a shorter period of time and who seem like they have it all figured out, because it's just about the endurance and being able to tolerate. I think it's endurance and tolerance. If you're able to tolerate a bunch of bullshit for an extended period of time, eventually you will succeed. Like, it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter where you were born, it doesn't matter who your parents are, it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you are able to endure a bunch of bullshit and be tolerant for an extended period of time, there is no way in fuck that you will not succeed. And I could guarantee that, like guarantee that. So if you're able to endure, you're able to think for yourself, you're able to network correctly, you're able to present yourself correctly, communicate correctly, have the right charisma, understand your value add, not just be defined by a piece of paper, understand that, you're going to succeed a lot more, not only in college, but beyond college, because you understand that college is just a stepping stone. And a lot of you individuals do need college. Like, there's a lot of people online that preach like, oh, fuck school, it's a matrix. And I understand that college may be very expensive, but there's a price and there's a cost to everything. Like I said, if you're just a square in regards to, oh, this is how much money I made in 1 month, you're never going to be able to have a conversation about absolutely anything else. And when you get into rooms where people are not even giving a flying fuck about money because they have so much, you're going to seem like a square to them, because you can't talk about politics, you can't talk about the economic state of the world, you can't talk about morals, ethics, code, nothing, because you only give a fuck about how much money you have in your bank account. And once you get past those individuals that don't care about it, because like I said, they have so much, where do you stand out? What's your value add in that case, right? People don't think about that. Once again, in those rooms, like I said, they have nothing else to converse about, and end up being on the short end of the stick. So you don't want to be self-centered, not well-rounded, and that comes down to having more experiences, traveling, getting educated upon things that happened in the past, because the past doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. And if you don't have that education about how the world genuinely works, not even just in your city, not just in your state, not just in your country, but the entire world, how people think, and being able to read people based off of things that happened in the past, history, then you're gonna have a very, 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 very tough time when it comes to formulating relationships, growing, etc. So if there's one takeaway I can get from this video, is always trying to be more than the piece of paper that you're defined upon. Because if you look at me as a person on a purely basis of just paper and qualifications, I'm not the most qualified, I'm not the most educated, but I know that I will be in a position where it does not matter. It doesn't matter how qualified I am on paper. It doesn't matter where I come from. It doesn't matter the fucking adversity that I faced. I guarantee there was no other fucking 20-year-old on the planet that will outwork me. I could borderline guarantee that shit. It doesn't matter that I'm in a position where, like I said, I face adversity. I don't have rich parents. I have a fucking single mom. Pops never in my life and had no fucking rich parents to like give me this guide. Not inheriting any of that shit. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I see that as a blessing as opposed to a disadvantage, because I get a different perspective from everybody else. Like me working in the restaurant gives me a different perspective on how to read people, with something you're not gonna be taught in college, like networking, for example. I'll go into a restaurant. If I have someone that is sitting across from me at the table and I'm trying to do business with or get an opportunity from, if they're rude to a waiter, for example, I just won't do business with them, even if it's someone that I heavily look up to on a business scale, because on the moral aspect, their morals are fucked up. Because I was in a position where that was me in the fucking restaurant. Like, that was me in the restaurant. So how would you have treated the prior version of myself, you know, if the roles were reversed and things were different, right? Why would I want to do that? Because, like I said, you could see a lot about someone based off of the way that they treat people that cannot benefit them directly or in that moment. So if there's a couple things I'll take from this video, is just being more than your degree, getting outside, conversing with people, doing main character shit, just because life is way too damn short, and it's also not guaranteed. Like, there's no guarantee that I was gonna wake up today. There's no guarantee I'll wake up tomorrow. And the beauty of that is that I could do whatever the fuck that I want, because I know that my time on here is limited, and I'm gonna approach it in that way. So I appreciate you watching this video. I'm gonna keep this YouTube channel as just something where I just go uncut, talk about what's on my mind, talk about the journey that I'm facing. You want more YouTube videos like this, comment down below, like, subscribe. I appreciate y'all. YouTube something, like I said, I'm gonna take it very seriously. Cut up all the bullshit. And if y'all wanna make some extra feria, you could like clip my shit. We have people that are getting paid simply just from clipping it up, promoting the low ticket products that we have, helping people out. But there's always an opportunity if you're willing to work. Like I said, college education is very important to me, but I also understand that there is a limits in regards to its significance when it comes to certain things, and that you have to go above and beyond in order to stand out, especially in today's market with, you know, the economic state, the job market, and also just the way that the world's moving right now. So I appreciate you watching this. I want to keep this raw and uncut. But yeah, till next time, I'm gonna drop more videos ASAP.